Awesome. Thank you, Lauren. Good evening, everybody. Well, let us introduce ourselves, I guess. My name is LP Mainville. I'm the Athlete Development Director for the OVA, and it's a pleasure for me to be here tonight talking about Team Ontario for 2023. I'm really excited for this. And you've seen Lauren. Lauren, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, yeah. For those who don't know me, I'm Lauren. I'm the Athlete Development Manager for the OVA. And just like LP, I'm super excited to be here tonight and chat about our upcoming programs for 2023.
Awesome. So I assume some of you know us. Maybe you were part of some of our programs this past summer. Some of you may not know us. You're new to this. So hopefully during this session, we can give you some information that the information you need in order to find out more about Team Ontario and where there could be a good fit for you and your child. So we're going to share as much information as we can about the programs for next summer. Obviously, it's November 7th, so we're still pretty far away from the summer. Not all the details are nailed down, but we know enough to help guide you with some of the decisions you may want to make in terms of what programs you may want to pursue for next summer. So let's get going and let's talk about 2023. So in this session, Lauren and I will cover a little bit of the context of what the Team Ontario programs are all about. We're going to talk about our Team Ontario pathway and all of the programs that we have. And then finally, we're going to let you know about how you can be identified to be selected to one of these programs. So let's start with the beginning. Our Team Ontario mission. The OVA has a strategic plan, and part of it, one of the pillars of our OVA strategic plan is high performance, and this is where Team Ontario falls. And within this pillar, with Team Ontario, our mission is to produce athletes and coaches who will represent Canada internationally and reach the Olympic podium. And we want to do that while creating a system of best practices for the entire OVA community. And so what we're trying to do is provide an environment within our programs that's going to help both the athletes and the coaches develop so that they get exposed to perhaps different techniques and principles that are aligned with our national team that will help them make their way all the way there. And in creating this environment that really helps accelerate the development of athletes. Obviously, we know that some athletes, a very few, will eventually make it to the international, Olympic podium. But at the end of the day, if we are able to create an environment that helps these players get there, well, we know that we're helping everybody else that's part of this program also, get better as a player, as an athlete, and as a person. So, yeah, kind of talked a little bit about the Olympics. It's like the one thing I like to say is that, our mission is to do that, is to produce international players at the end of the day that will transition to the national team. But the one thing that's really cool, I think, is the fact that we're kind of all working together to do this. And whether, we're the one who ends up there or not, at the end of the day, I think it's pretty cool if one day we're able to watch the Olympics or a World Championship and we get to see someone that we played with at Team Ontario in the regional program, in Team Ontario White, during the full-time training group on the beach, and say, hey, like I used to train with that guy, or I used to train with that girl, and look, now he or she is at the Olympics. And I kind of like the fact that I had something to do with that, because I was a good blocker. I kept blocking her and made her a better attacker or something like that, right? So it's kind of the cool thing when we get into these programs that we all do together, right? We all help each other become the best possible player as we can. So that's kind of the mission of Team Ontario, and we do that with a bunch of programs that are listed here. Now, just for you to kind of understand this very busy, image right here. On the right in the gray, you've got the different stages of the long-term athlete development model. Then in the green, you kind of have the daily training environment, the DTE, where players spend most of their time training. And that's going to be, with their club and school. And for the most part, in terms of the athletes that are interested in the high performance, a lot of them end up going to youth sport or NCAA or college. So athletes get most of their training there, but then they get those Team Ontario programs in the red and the orange there to get additional training and further develop their skills in a way that's aligned with the national team, so that they can reach those levels eventually in their development. So the programs that are there are the programs we're going to talk about tonight. So at the very bottom, we have the Team Ontario Regional Program and the Tall Maples Program. That's what the TM stands for. Those programs are kind of the base of our pathway. And then athletes get to move on as they get older and better to Team Ontario White on the indoor side, Team Ontario Red, Team Ontario Black, Team Ontario Elite, and eventually the national team. On the beach side, the way it works is a little bit different in the sense that athletes will move on to programs based on their commitment level. Whether they can commit to full-time training or not is going to kind of determine where they end up. But there's a progression both on the indoor and the beach. There's opportunities for athletes at the beginning of the pathway to kind of go back and forth until at some point they're kind of asked to make a decision as to whether they're going to pursue indoor or beach as part of the high performance programs. So if there's any questions on this, please ask at the end, but we're going to go now into more of the program specific information. So just before Lauren gets into all of the details for each program, just want to summarize the indoor program. So we're going to talk about indoor first. We're going to talk about beach after. So few changes for this year, actually two main changes, I would say, compared to how things have been done in the past. So as you can see on the screen, we've got Team Ontario Regional Program, Team Ontario White, Team Ontario Red, and Team Ontario Black. Those are the four programs that will offer indoor volleyball that we will have next summer. As you can see, if you look at the ages above each of those programs or below, I guess, for the girls, the ages are a bit different. So the age are different because of the maturity level of athletes and where we see, the athletes be in terms of their skill level. And also because of the reality of post-secondary and how a lot of athletes on the girls' side end up leaving for NCAA and are not as available in their 18U year. So based on our experience in the past several years, these are the ages that we feel are going to best support the athletes, within those programs. So those programs are going to be are designed in a way that's going to best support the athletes at those skill levels on the boys' side and on the girls' side. So that explains the difference in age. Now you'll notice also a difference in numbers, and that one is pretty simple. If you look at our membership, right, from the player perspective, we have a lot more girls than we have boys in the OVA. And so we wanted to make sure that moving forward, our programs kind of reflect that difference. And, we have, again, a lot more girls, so there should be more female athletes at each stage of the pathway as we move along. So when we look at this, we actually end up with a total number of athletes that we're going to support through Team Ontario that's slightly higher than last year, I think by maybe 12. So it's very, very similar than what we've done in the past, but just a different breakdown of the ages. Sorry, and of the numbers between the boys and the girls. So those are the two big changes, and now into kind of the details for each program. I'm going to pass it on to Lauren.
To the at beginning of
Lauren, I don't know if it's just me or if it's for other people, but you're cutting up pretty bad. Doesn't seem to be your connection, maybe just your AirPods.
Better?
That's better, I think, yeah.
Okay, great. Let's try that again. Okay, we're back. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm going to be covering the integrated and indoor programs starting at the beginning of our pathway and working up. So that starts with our Team Ontario regional program. So the regional program will bring together athletes from all regions of the province 1 through 6 and to one location to experience a high performance style of training and instruction. The goal of this program is to expose more athletes to high performance indoor and beach volleyball concepts to create a broader, more skilled group of athletes in Ontario. So the regional program will be run over 6 days and provides athletes with the opportunity to train on the indoors and beach, as I mentioned, which is really cool. So there will be 120 girls and 72 boys selected to this program. And this program is specifically for female athletes born in 2009 and male athletes born in 2008. For the regional program, we're identifying athletes with specific birth years. So athletes born in 2009 for girls and 2008 for boys will be eligible to participate in the regional program. And we don't have the specific dates or locations yet, but the program will be run in July. And as soon as we have those dates, we'll communicate that with the community. So moving on to our other integrated program, this program is one of the coolest programs that we offer every summer. And we actually see a lot of transition from players who start at this Tall Maples program that end up on our Team Ontario Beach and Team Ontario Indoor programs in the future. So the Tall Maples program is really tailored towards athletes with above physical attributes, which in other words is tall athletes. So obviously we all know volleyball is a sport where being physical really, really helps. So this program covers both indoor and beach volleyball and is designed in a way to meet the needs of identified tall athletes. So selection for this program will happen during our selection process, and I'll kind of go over that when we talk about it at the end. But in our Team Ontario selection process, there is obviously a physical component to the selection. However, there's also a skill component that is important as well. And there are a lot of tall athletes that are selected to our Team Ontario programs, but there are some athletes that maybe have grown really quickly, but may not have caught up to their height in terms of coordination and agility. And those are the athletes that we take to participate in this program. We really work with them to plan a program that helps meet their specific needs and help them gain some confidence so they're able to go back to their club, really apply the skills that they learn at Tall Maples, and then come back and join a Team Ontario program in the future. So the requirements for this program in terms of height are 6'3" for boys and 5'11" or taller for girls. And the program is designed for 13 to 16-year-old athletes or athletes born in that 2010 to 2007 age frame. And again, it'll be held in July, but the dates have not officially been determined yet. So that was Tall Maples, and that was the last of our integrated programs that we're running this summer. So I'll now focus on the rest of the indoor programs, starting with Team Ontario White. So this program is actually in its second year. We began running it in 2019 for 15U athletes to kind of bridge the gap between the regional program and Team Ontario Red. But due to COVID, we put this program on pause, and we're now bringing it back with just a few updates that I'll communicate now. So the Team Ontario White program is focused on the development of athletes who are starting their high performance journey in volleyball on our pathway. And athletes will learn about Team Ontario culture and principles of play in an 8-day training camp, plus a 4-day of competition in our Team Ontario Cup tournament. The skill level of this program is for girls of the 15U skill level and boys of the 16U skill level. We'll be selecting 60 girls and 48 boys to participate in this program. And as I mentioned, similar to all the other programs I mentioned, it'll be in July, just the dates are TBD at this point. And I'm going to highlight just some features on the Team Ontario Cup again. We're really happy to be running this tournament again. We ran this event actually last year for our Team Ontario Red and Black programs, and we're excited to be running it again as we saw it as a huge success, the event. So the Team Ontario Cup provides athletes and coaches with the opportunity to apply all the concepts they learned during their training camp into a high performance tournament setting. So this tournament will be created around those principles of play to help develop the athletes participating in this program. So the tournament will be fully officiated and live streamed. There will be some other awesome, really cool features to make this event fun for everyone, including Team Ontario banquet or barbecue, whatever we have access to at the facility, jersey presentations, and more that will make it a great experience for everyone, included coaches and athletes alike. So we're happy to be bringing this one back again. And then moving on to our Team Ontario Red and Black programs. These programs are focused on introducing athletes to a high performance training environment similar to one run by a national team program. So they're meant to develop higher level skills and integrate our Team Ontario playing systems with those similar to a national team. And they're really meant to prepare athletes for that next level of play, whether that is varsity or hopefully someday international volleyball. So these two programs will both be 11 days plus a 4-day competition at the end of those 11 days. And as you can see on the screen, there's some differing in skill levels. So for Team Ontario Red, for girls, this is more of a 16U skill level, and boys is 17U. We'll be taking 42 athletes, which actually equals 3 teams for Team Ontario Red girls. We'll be taking 3 teams to the competition and the training camp. For boys, we'll have 2 teams that enter the competition and train, and that'll be a total of 28 athletes. For the Team Ontario Black program, the skill level will be 17U for girls and 18U for boys. And in terms of the number of athletes, it's a little bit different here as well. We will be running 2 teams for Team Ontario Black girls. That's 28 athletes, and we will be adding some alternates to train for the training camp as well. And that's just to manage the load on the athletes, make sure everyone is healthy and able to play and train together as a group. And then similarly on the boys, we'll be taking 1 team to a competition, but we'll be having 14 athletes plus some alternates to train in that environment as well. So the competition that the Team Ontario Red and Black programs will be competing in is Volleyball Canada's Canada Cup competition. And this competition will be held in July, and it will bring together Canada's next generation of high performance athletes to compete in a home province or territory national championship. So in the past, this event has featured over 40 teams, including both male and female athletes on a national scale in 2 divisions representing all provinces and territories across Canada. It's a pretty cool event as it's a critical piece of talent development process in Canada with over 300 athletes per gender. So it's a really cool opportunity for athletes to represent Ontario on this stage, but again, really focusing on applying those concepts learned from their Team Ontario training into a competition setting. So I just want to cover Team Ontario Elite. Every September, we start our Team Ontario Elite program. And like LP mentioned earlier, this program is for 18U athletes and sits at the top of our Team Ontario pathway. And it provides opportunities for these identified 18U athletes to attend some extra weekend training in the fall and winter during season. So we're actually currently running this program right now and have a training camp for our elite athletes upcoming in December. But like I said, this program is not actually run. It's not actually run during the summer. But I wanted to mention it as athletes will be selected for this program from the Team Ontario Black program for girls and Team Ontario Red program for boys. So if Team Ontario Elite is something that you've kind of have set your sights to in terms of a goal to make, because of the awesome training opportunities environment we're able to provide this group, make sure you sign up to be identified for this athlete ID process, because we will be taking athletes from Team Ontario Black for girls and Team Ontario Red for boys to join this program for the 2023-24 cycle.
Mm-hmm. Lauren, if I may.
Go ahead.
So I just wanted to mention that this program, because we are currently in the process of applying for some funding to be able to run this program. And so obviously our intention is to run this program in some capacity, but we'll have the full details of what that will look like for next year at some point in the spring and before the summer. So stay tuned for more details on what that program is actually going to be like for 2023-24.
Awesome. Thanks, LP. And I think we'll move over to Beach.
Oh yeah, great. Well, I'm going to leave my mic on then. So thanks, Lauren, for all the info on the indoor program. So for Beach, Angie Shen is our senior beach development coach, and she's currently on vacation because she works a ton during the summer in September when beach is going on, and so she couldn't be with us tonight. But I will take over and mention the 2 programs that we're going to run this next summer. So for the beach programs, like I mentioned quickly in the intro around the pathway, we're going to have 2 programs based on athletes' commitment level. Our main program is a full-time training group. It's just the one that we've been running for many years. Very successful program. Athletes train full-time during the summer in Toronto. I'll give you a bit more details in a second. But we're going to have an option for the athletes who don't have access to Toronto, can't commit to daily training, or just live too far away. To be part of this program, to be part of a Team Ontario Beach camp-based program. Total athletes on the beach side is going to be about 84 athletes that we're going to take next summer. So let's get into the details of the different programs. So like I mentioned, the full-time training group is the main program we have. We train a wide kind of age range of athletes on this program. It is based in Toronto at Ashbridges Bay, and athletes will train 3 to 4 times a week. It's actually during the evenings in June because kids are still in school. And then when they get off school, then the training shifts to mornings in July, in August. So athletes in this program get full support from our integrated support staff. So they get support in, strength and conditioning, mental performance, nutrition, and so on as part of their daily training. Part of that program as well is that coaches are around at OVE Beach Tour events in Toronto to support the athletes in the program during their events. And and so athletes will train in this program all summer, leading up to provincials and nationals. And I just want to mention that athletes from this group will, we call them the full-time training group, but the athletes in this group will actually get the chance to participate in a camp prior to nationals later in August, where they will get a chance to do what we call an international prep camp, where they will kind of be put in a situation that mimics the context of an international competition, where they have to kind of be in control of their schedule and schedule a training with another team and show up for a match and all that stuff. So we're really kind of trying to put the athletes in a context that will prepare them for future international beach volleyball participation. Pretty cool program. So that's for the athletes who can commit this amount of time to their training in the summer in Toronto. For the athletes who can't because they live out of town, or maybe they're in Ottawa, or maybe they just don't have the time to commit to this type of training, we have the camp-based option. So we take fewer athletes in this program. Ages are the same. Now, the thing this year for this program is that part of our selection process is going to be us looking at what you as an athlete are doing in your own area in terms of your beach training, right? So the whole thing around our high performance program is that commitment is important, right? Like our mission is to help develop athletes that will reach the national team. And to do that, we know that we'd be working with athletes that are committed to that. And part of being committed to that is knowing that, okay, well, I'm not treating Team Ontario as a day camp or as, a thing I'm just going to do for a week just because I need something to do for that week in the summer, right? The Team Ontario program that you're going to be a part of, whether it's indoor or beach, needs to be part of a broader effort on the athlete's part to achieve their volleyball goals. And so part of the selection is going to be looking at, what are you doing? Let's say you do live in Ottawa. What are you doing in Ottawa? What's your daily beach training program like in Ottawa throughout the summer? And then this camp that you're going to come to with Team Ontario is just going to be there to kind of complement that training that you get where you are, right? So our coaches are going to kind of help you look at your training plan. And then when you get to that camp, you're going to be getting access to the same type of sports science support that full-time training group athletes get. So you'll get that strength conditioning and mental performance and nutrition. So you'll get kind of a little kind of a boot camp, right? Like where you just get a lot of information, a lot of support, and then you can go back to your training environment, and hopefully it gave you a boost, and then you can finish your summer on a high note. The one thing too this year that's going to be nice for those athletes participating in a camp-based program is that athletes will have access to some of the full-time training group practices. So OVE Beach Tour events in Toronto, they're on Saturdays and Sunday. So if, for example, you're from out of town and you're going to come for a Saturday tournament, perhaps you're able to come a day early and participate in that full-time training group practices on the Friday, and then participate in your tournament on the Saturday. So those Friday practices are going to be open to the camp-based athletes if they want to. So you'll just kind of book that at the beginning of the summer, and then you'll be able to plan for that. So that's going to be kind of how both programs kind of mix. Now, when they do go to that camp, that week-long camp in July, the camp-based athletes are there, and the full-time training group athletes are there too. So all athletes from both programs converge to the location. They train together for that week. It's just basically what happens before and after, that's going to be different between the two groups.
All right. Thanks, LP. So before we get into the actual athlete ID process, I just wanted to bring some other items to your attention in terms of some things that Volleyball Canada kind of has coming down the pipeline for young athletes. So first is that NEP ID process. So for those of you who don't know, NEP is the National Excellence Program, and it's a 4-month full-time training environment, which is held in Richmond, BC at the Richmond Oval, which is actually the women's national team training environment. And it's actually being run right now. It's run from September to December every year for about 16 to 20 athletes from across Canada between the ages of 15 and 17 years old. So they're identifying athletes for their 2023 program beginning now. The process is actually open and live on GMTM, which I will explain in a couple slides. But the deadline to submit an application for this process is November 27th. So just wanted to make those female athletes aware, if you're between the ages of 15 and 17 and you're looking to participate in the female NEP program, that the deadline to submit an application is actually coming up fast, November 27th. The second item here is the Volleyball Canada Combine. Some of you might have attended this event last year held by Volleyball Canada. It's an event that provides an opportunity to put athletes through 11 physical tests and measurements that you'll be able to have access to use for just to have access to for your own knowledge. And they actually take results as well and share with youth national team coaches. So it's a cool event to be a part of if you're looking towards getting that data for yourself. The event's actually going to be held on November 26th, and it's in Ottawa this year. So if you're interested in attending, the registration deadline is actually later this week, but you can find that link on the Volleyball Canada website. So you can head on over there and register to attend that event. And then the last item here, Team Ontario and Volleyball Canada selections. So I'll touch on this a little bit later, but our Team Ontario selections will be coming out after Ontario Championships, and hopefully Volleyball Canada, they will also be running summer programs that overlap with some of our skill levels that we're looking to have on Team Ontario. So in terms of the selection dates, Volleyball Canada should be releasing their athletes lists ahead of ours. So we're able to kind of to pick our athletes accordingly. But this will be a collaborative process that we do with the athletes involved in both selection processes. So we just want to just ensure and kind of let everyone know that we'll be working together with Volleyball Canada to make sure that our selection processes are smooth for everyone involved in both of those. Okay, so let's get to talking about the athlete ID process for Team Ontario, which is super exciting. So this year we're running a virtual athlete ID process for all those programs that we mentioned earlier in the presentation. So we are using the online platform GMTM. This is the same platform that we actually used last year for our athlete identification process. And this is aligned with Volleyball Canada as they do all of their youth, junior national team, NEP program selections through this platform as well. Just to explain a little bit more on what the website is, GMTM is a website used by sport organizations like the OVA to run virtual events, tryouts, and combines. So we will actually be hosting 2 tryout events on ID process events, on GMTM. One specifically for the regional program ID, and one specifically for the remaining Team Ontario beach and indoor programs. The two events will be labeled, the first one, the 2023 Team Ontario Regional Program Identification. And this event will be, again, for female athletes born in 2009 and male athletes born in 2008 specifically. And the older athletes will apply for the other Team Ontario Athlete ID event, which will be labeled as 2023 Athlete ID Process. And I'll show you a little bit of that. But first, some of you may already have accounts with this platform. If you applied to our Athlete ID process last year, you would have already created an account or a profile for yourself, which is great. You don't need to create another one. You already have access to the website, which is awesome. But for those of you who did not register to be identified last year, I can break down and walk you through how to create a profile here. So if you don't have a profile, you can visit gmtm.com. And once you pull up that web page, there's a button at the top right corner there that's labeled sign up. And this will begin the process to create a profile. It takes about 5 minutes to create using your athlete's email, the athlete that will be registering for the ID process. And once you've created your profile, as you can see, there's an option here to search GMTM events. And that's where you can type in Ontario Volleyball Association, and both of our events will pop up, which is really cool. So I've already gone ahead and made our events. So I will just show you here. All right, LP, can you see GMTM on the screen?
I can, yes.
Awesome. Okay, great. So I'll just walk you through what it looks like. And once you search Ontario Volleyball Association and you see our events. So this event that's up right now is our 2023 Athlete ID process. So as I mentioned, there was 2 events. This is only one of them, and I'll go over the regional program ID after this. So this will be the ID process that female athletes born between 2008 and 2006 apply to, and male athletes born between 2007 and 2005 apply to. So athletes with these birth years will apply to this one ID process, and our Team Ontario coaches will review the applications and place athletes on teams where their skill level is best suited, whether that's for indoor, TMO, white, red, or black, or and then for beach, it'll depend again based on the commitment that LP was talking about, but they'll be selected to the beach program for camp-based or FTG program. So as part of the ID process, athletes will have to submit various or complete various activities to be considered for the program. So let's say I'm a female athlete born in 2006, and I'm interested in indoor programs only. So what we've done for activities is we've labeled everything indoor, beach very clearly. So if I'm only interested in indoor programs, I would submit an application for the activities that are labeled as indoor. If I'm an athlete that's interested in Team Ontario beach programs only, I would submit to the activities where it's labeled beach. So I would skip over these indoor program activities and head down to these beach activity sections. Here, if I'm interested in both, then you would complete all of the activities listed on this application. So we can walk through the different activities that are listed here. The first one is just some basic information, getting to know the athlete a little bit better, what team they play for, their birth year, if they have a beach partner, if they're interested in beach, that sort of thing. We just want to get to know the actual athlete that's applying to be identified for Team O, and that's going to be all through this activity, that first one right here. The rest of the application is all actually video footage, and we're asking that athletes submit a full game video and a highlight video for each indoor and beach as well. So if you were to click on the actual activity, we do give, I might have to, oh yeah, I haven't officially registered for it, haha. But once you pay to be identified, which I'll talk about, and you click participate, it actually breaks down what we're looking for in terms of the film. So you're not guessing what types of skills we want to see in your video. It's listed in the caption, which is helpful. So you actually submit something that we want to observe, and we're able to evaluate each athlete as, which is great. And that's the same for the highlight videos as well. We have a description. So you're making a highlight video that's intentional to what the coaches are looking for. So the great news about this application is once it's open, you can come back and submit new things to it for as long as the event is actually open for. So once you register for the event, you don't actually have to submit all of your information all at once. The application stays open, which is really neat. So you're able to maybe one day come in and say, oh, I have some time, I'm going to complete this athlete information activity, but I don't have my highlight video done yet. That's totally fine. You can come back a week, 2 weeks later and submit that highlight video when you have it all complete and to the parameters that we've requested that you submit it as. So that's a really neat tool that this website has. Once you're registered, you have some flexibility in terms of when you submit different your application. So this is what the athlete ID process looks like for athletes in that this age range, as I mentioned earlier. And for the Team Ontario Regional Program, it's very similar. As I mentioned, again, female athletes born in 2009, male athletes born in 2008. It's a little bit smaller, the application process. So again, athletes will have to submit that athlete information, which just gets some more info on the athlete, and they'll be asked to submit a highlight video. And again, there is a detailed description on what we're looking for in terms of what to include in your highlight video, the different skills, how long it should be. That sort of thing is all included, which is awesome. So you won't be guessing what to include and what not to, and that's all listed there. So yeah, this is GMTM. It's really neat. If you have any specific questions on that, once you kind of log in after this call and kind of play around with the website, feel free to email me, and we can and I can answer those questions that you might have in terms of the athlete ID process and the website. So just to go back to the presentation here. Oh no. So let me skip to the end. And now my computer's a little bit frozen. Nice. Anyways, once this becomes unfrozen, I'll show you the slide. But before we move on to the questions portion of the presentation, I just have some important items that I wanted to bring to your attention here. So the ID process isn't actually live right now. So I showed you those events from the back end of the website, but if you were to search that in GMTM, it's not live as of right now. The ID process will be going live on GMTM on December 5th, 2022. On December 5th, they will become unlocked, and athletes will be able to begin that registration process. Last year, the cost of the ID process was $50 US, and we're still negotiating our contract with GMTM and Volleyball Canada. However, the price to participate in this ID process will either remain the same or be lowered depending on the contracts that we're given. And that will be communicated prior to December 5th, the start of the athlete ID process. So we talked about the start, but the end, athletes deadline to register and complete. Just gonna do that. Deadline to register and complete their ID process application is end of day, March 12th, 2023. So the event will officially close at 11:59 p.m. on March 12th, and athletes will no longer be able to upload any new content to their application following that date and time. So make sure that, as I mentioned, you do have some flexibility to apply and finish certain activities whenever you want, but just make sure everything is uploaded and all activities are completed by March 12th, 2023, end of day. So following that deadline, the timeline of events that will occur is that once Ontario Championships have occurred, direct invites for Team Ontario white, red, black, and tall maples will be sent to indoor athletes, and a tryout invitation will be sent to aspiring Team Ontario beach athletes. And once the tryouts for the Team Ontario Beach program have occurred, then invites to join the program will be sent to the selected athletes. So some other important things to note. I'll see if I can share my screen again so we can. Okay, here we go. Oh, maybe not. Spoke too soon. Okay.
Do you want me
Hopefully
to
be able
try?
to put that slide up at the end.
But Lauren,
sorry?
you want me to try?
Yeah, that'd be great. Just so the dates are kind of highlighted, that would be awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
But some other important things to note, as the OVA season has officially begun, I think last weekend was the first weekend that tournaments were held. It's important to start taking videos of tournaments, scrimmages that athletes are a part of, because as you saw from what I just presented on GMTM, the application is video. So make sure that you have enough footage to be able to create that highlight video and that full game video that I mentioned as well. For athletes interested in the Team Ontario Beach programs, this is different from last year, but you will need to submit video footage of you competing on the beach to be considered for Team Ontario Beach this year. So that can include footage from this past summer. And if you do not have any footage or would like some new footage, please make sure that you are participating in an OVA Winter Beach Tour event. And those, I believe, are beginning very soon. And registration for those events are open as well. So if you do not have any or would beach footage or would like some more, please make sure you register for one of those events with a partner and you gather and you take video of yourself on the beach court. Oh, awesome.
Is that good enough or?
That's great. Yeah, that's perfect. And then just the last thing to bring to your attention, if you noticed, if you were part of the athlete ID process last year, a part of the selection was physical testing. And last year we had athletes submit that on GMTM through their application if they had it. But this year, just to make it a little bit of a smoother process, we're not asking athletes to submit it ahead of time, as most athletes needed to come to physical testing at Ontario Championships to get that data. So it will be a requirement now that all athletes who have applied to our athlete ID process, they will need to attend our physical testing booth at Ontario Championships this year. So that will be in April at the Enercare Center in Toronto. And if you've already registered for the ID process, you don't need to re-register for the physical testing booth. You just show up in the hours of operation, and we will collect the data and add it to your application for you. And that's that. But it will be required that all athletes come to the physical testing booth, both on the beach and indoor side, to be tested for the ID process. And the last thing I want to mention, it's not on this slide, but for Tall Maples athlete ID, all athletes that register on GMTM for Team Ontario will also be considered for Tall Maples. So athletes that are not selected to a Team Ontario regional or any of the other programs, actually, they will automatically be considered for Tall Maples. So that's one way to be identified for that program. Second way to be identified for that program, if you're an athlete that's not interested in Team Ontario programs, but are really looking forward to participating in Tall Maples, we have a registration form that you can submit that's not part of this ID process. That will be posted on our Team Ontario website. So there's two ways, again, to be selected to that program. One is just applying through our regular TMO process. You'll be entered into the pool of athletes. Two, if you do not want to be part of the GMTM athlete ID process, there is a registration form that you can submit and complete to be identified specifically for Tall Maples. And again, both of those will be outlined on our website on teamontario.org. teamontariovolleyball.org, sorry. And that'll be updated tomorrow with that form. Okay. I think we covered everything there. LP, do you have anything else you want to add before we go to questions?
No, I think we're going to cover a lot through the questions. Thank you, Lauren, and thanks everybody for your patience as we go through all of this information. I know it's a lot, but we want to make sure that we cover everything and that it's out there. Obviously, there'll be a lot of all this information, and as we update information with dates and locations, that will all be on our teamontariovolleyball.org website. So make sure to check that out. Yeah, and if you want to stick around for the questions, and we're going to start answering them. I know there is a bunch in the chat, so maybe we can start there. Just going to stop sharing this, and then we can kind of see each other. And get started.
Okay.
I answered one in there, but I think there was a.
Okay, just.
Oh.
Oh.
Sorry, I just saw the Holly on the call. Little Holly. It's going to be, joining us. Really excited for that. More information to come for everybody. Okay, so I know there was a questions. I saw them also. People actually texted me. There was one question about 14U boys. Like the boys that were 14U last year, they were part of the TOR program, the regional program. This year they're 15U, so they're 2008. We did change the age. So this was our change. In the past, we've said that you can only participate once in the regional program, and then you move on to a different program. But because we made the change in the age group to kind of accommodate this new plan for the next 3 years, if you are a 2008 born athlete and you did the regional program last year, you can still apply for it this year and then participate in it this year. There was also a question about if I'm a 2009 athlete and I'm playing on a 15U team, can I still apply to regional program? And the answer to that question is no. The regional program is the only program that we have at the bottom of our pyramid, of our pathway, that is a strict age group program. And the reason is it's a massive program and we get tons of application. I did see another question in there in terms of how many girls apply for this program usually. Last year we had 175 girls apply for it, and that was a small number. I wouldn't be surprised if we had over 200 this year. So lots of athletes apply for this program. Even when we limit it to one birth year, and because it's the bottom also of our pathway, doing that allows more athletes from that age group to be part of it. What would happen if we didn't do that is what kind of happens at the next levels of our Team Ontario pathway, which is that that, like, just to make it very simple, like on the girls' side, the regional program is 14U. If we opened it to younger athletes, the program would be made out of the top athletes in the 14U age group and the top athletes in the 13U age group. And these would be the same athletes that eventually potentially get the opportunities to train in other Team Ontario programs. But by keeping it in an age group, we allow more athletes from this age group to be part of it, to experience it, and to perhaps ignite a passion for high performance volleyball, and continue on to the next stages. So, trying to make a long answer short, but that's what it's. Okay. Other ones.
Do regions come into play when selecting athletes for the indoor programs? So regions are only in play for the regional program. We take a specific number of athletes from each region based on the size of the region. That information is actually on the website, teamontariovolleyball.org/regional. And those numbers are listed there in terms of the amount of athletes we take per region. But for the rest of the indoor programs, it's not specifically based on regions, the athlete selection.
That being said, we have in the past made an effort to recruit one or two players from region 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. Especially region 1, that's a little further out, where athletes don't necessarily get the opportunities that the rest of us get down south here in Ontario. So we should make an effort to invite a couple of those players from these areas. There's a question about Team Ontario wide. If you're born after 2006, or if you have to be born in 2007, maybe you need to clarify the fact that people apply to.
Yeah, for sure. There's another question here on kind of 17U boy apply for both red and black. So basically for these two questions, athletes apply for the athlete ID process based on their birth year. And that's all listed in the two events that we have on GMTM. But after that, like, they don't apply to a specific program within the ID process. We then select the athletes to the program. So they're basically applying to be identified for any of our Team Ontario programs within our pathway, but then we select the athletes to the specific program based on their skill level.
So you could be much younger and then be invited to Team Ontario Black, or you could be a late developing athlete who's a little bit older, and then you're invited, and let's say you're 17U on the girls' side, and you could still be invited to Team Ontario Red. So you apply to be part of Team Ontario, and our coaches make the selection to best fit your skill level and development stage. Is there any way to watch the meeting once it's finished?
Yes. It's recording, so we'll put this recording on our YouTube page, and then we'll also post it on our website, and actually the OntarioVolleyball.org website as well. So if you'd like to rewatch again, you'll be able to.
So there's a question here from George around Team Ontario Elite. It says, if Team Elite is chosen from Team Red, then what does it mean to be Team Black? I guess we should have clarified that it's Team Ontario Black on the girls' side and Team Ontario Red on the boys' side. That's the difference. Because on the boys' side, Team Ontario Black being 18U, it happens the year after Team Ontario Elite. That makes sense.
Will there be in-person tryouts this year for all groups? There will only be in-person tryouts for Team Ontario Beach. There will be no indoor or integrated program tryouts this year.
For the next question from Mark, when an athlete does not identify with their gender assigned at birth, which program would they be considered for? So that's up to the athlete to apply to the program that they want. If you go on our Team Ontario, sorry, not Team Ontario, but our OVA website in the About section, and then in the policy section, we do have a trans inclusion policy, which says that the OVA believes that trans athletes should have equal opportunity to participate in sport and strive for excellence. Individuals participating in development and recreational sports should be able to participate in the gender with which they identify and not be subject to requirements for disclosure of personal information beyond those required. There's a lot more in that document. So if that's of interest to you, you can go and take a look at it. Like I said, it's on the OVA website. And yeah, that's it. Is there a link for that last event? I'm not sure I understand that question.
Yeah, I'm not sure. If a shorter athlete does not qualify for height for their age category, are they able to try out for a younger team where they pass height requirements? So we actually don't have any height requirements for any of our other programs besides Tall Maples, which is specifically for tall athletes. So athletes don't have to worry about passing a certain requirement in our physical testing booth to make any of our other programs other than Tall Maples.
Is there a way to ensure that only TMO selection committee members will see the athletes' profiles? I'm not sure if you touched on that on GMTMA.
Is there a way to ensure that? No, I didn't touch on this, but that's a great question. So when you create your profile on GMTM and it asks you to submit videos for the application, which it will if you're applying, there is an option that pops up right before you submit, and it's in terms of the visibility of the video. So you can make it visible to public, which would mean that any coach that has access to GMTM, an athlete that has a profile, will be able to see the video. And I guess the reason that this is useful is for when you're applying or when you ask maybe a university coach or a coach from a different program to watch your video, it'll be available for them to watch, whether they're part of our identification process or not. But there's also an option that right before you submit, you're able to say just coaches, I think it says, or just coaches of this event, and that would be only Team Ontario coaches that would have access to the video. So it's up to you and what you kind of want to use the platform for, but there is different visibility levels depending on what you're comfortable with, and which is a great thing that the app provides. So yes, if you would only like your videos to be seen by our selection committee, that is possible, and that kind of pops up right before you submit your videos to the activity on our events.
There's a beach camp in July at a different time than TMO indoor camp. So for this, it's a good question. So the only commitment that we make is that the Team Ontario Beach camp will not be at the same time as the Team Ontario White camp. That's a commitment that we are making. So for sure, these two events are not going to happen at the same time. But as you can imagine, finding venues that are able to accommodate the number of athletes in a good enough environment is difficult. So, if we're not able to schedule the Team Ontario Red program and from indoor on the week that's different than the Team Ontario Beach camp, then we won't. They will be at the same time, and there will be conflict. And that's because at some point, we do, in our pathway, we do encourage athletes to choose. Like I said earlier, our goal is to produce international athletes, and in order to do that, at some point, athletes have to commit to one discipline if they want to actually achieve those goals in the future. Lauren, you mentioned this, but can you please remember the deadline for registering through GMTM?
Yes, so the deadline to register on GMTM is end of day March 12th. all activities will be closed at the end of the day, and you won't be able to access your application anymore. So everything has to be submitted before end of day, March 12th. LP, for the regional program, so for girls specifically, the requirement is to be born in 2009, but do they also have to be playing in 14U and be born in 2009?
Nope, you don't have to anymore. You can just be born in 2009 and that's fine. Now, if you are born in 2009 and playing like 15U or perhaps 16U, then chances are you're good enough to be considered for other programs. But yeah, you can apply for that. Now, I don't know if you mentioned it, but if you so again, like you kind of apply for your age group. So if you're 2009, you're going to apply to the Team Ontario Regional Program. But if our evaluators see that you are at a skill level that's above the rest of the group, we will actually consider you for Team Ontario White and potentially Team Ontario Red and could invite you to these programs. This happens every year pretty much on the girls' side. There's like a couple of girls who are perhaps they mature a bit early. They're physically, like I said, a little bit stronger and also skill-wise are stronger for for their birth year at the 14U age. And then it happens every year that a couple of them are invited to join some other programs. But you still apply for the regional program, and then we'll find you and then invite you to attend a different program.
I see a question here. Will the selection panel or coaches be reviewing huddle highlights separate from the GMTM process, given the OVA's recent endorsement of the software? So that's a really good question. The great thing about GMTM and your video upload portion is they accept huddle videos. So if that's a platform that you use and have already cut videos or want to use a full game video that you have access to on Huddle, you can submit Huddle links directly to those activities. And it really works flawlessly within the system. So they actually work really well together, and you're able to use Huddle through our GMTM application.
The only thing with Huddle is that I know that Huddle will take like a couple of your matches and create its own highlight video for you. And that's not what we want. Like you actually need to go in Huddle and look for the specific like rallies and skills that you need for the highlight video, and create your own highlight video with those skills. If you just submit the one that Huddle automatically creates for you, you may not hit all of the I guess like the skills that we want to see as part of that video. So just be aware of that.
Yeah, and then on the same note, I guess, is there a specific program that we need to use for the video footage, iMovie, etc.? No, there's no specific program for you to use. Whatever you have access to is great and will work for us. I think you can even use YouTube to piece together videos as well if necessary, but whatever program you can use and have access to, you can do that for the video portion. When will we know the dates of the training camp? I believe we're hoping to know the date. Yeah, very soon. Hopefully the end of the month or early December, we'll be able to finalize those dates with our venues, and then we'll be able to communicate that with the community as soon as we know, so everyone can start planning and looking forward to it.
Yeah, for sure. We want to know the dates just as much as you do. So yeah, we're working on it really hard. Will the ranking of the club team I'm on affect any sort of Team Ontario qualification? No. The it doesn't, but typically what we find if you just look at the makeup of our Team Ontario programs, usually a big, like a large majority of the athletes that end up in the programs are athletes that will play in Division One of their age group at Ontario Championships. It's about year to year, it varies between 70 to 80, 85% I've seen on certain years, depending on the cohort. So it's just kind of the way it works out. But yeah, like if you're a great athlete on a Division Two team or Division Three team, you definitely still have a shot. And yeah, so I'll say to that.
What is the athlete identification process for the regional program? Is it the same as Team Ontario process? It is similar. It's online through our GMTM platform. It's its own separate event though, and we're asking for just a little bit less in terms of what needs to be submitted, but that's all listed online. And if you go back into the recording of this, once we're done, explain that a little bit more.
There's one here. I think that's a good question. Is do you need to be on a club team to try out for Team Ontario? And the answer is no, but you need to be an OVA member. So if you're not an OVA member, like once we get all the registration list from GMTM and we compare that to our list of members, and you're not a member, then we won't consider you. So in order to be part of a OVA Team Ontario program, you need to be an OVA member, and that goes for coaches as well. Could you please give us an idea of the costs associated with Team Ontario regional program? So I can just speak of what the cost has been in the past, and the cost has varied between 11 and I think last year was $1,250. So $1,250 last year, and that was no HST for the 14-year program, and so it's that ballpark between 1,100 and 1,300. That's what it was last year. So I anticipate it's going to be very similar this year. Costs are rising across the board. They are too for the venues that we go to, because we cover accommodation and food. So the food costs have gone up for us in the past couple of years, but we're working hard to not have to pass on those increases in costs. We're hoping to keep things pretty stable between last year and this year.
Can athletes attend Tall Maples more than once, or should they be applying to the other TMO programs in subsequent years? That's a good question. I believe that they can participate more than once. I know there have been athletes that have done it more than once. If you are interested in other TMO programs, though, I would suggest that you sign up for the athlete ID process. And then you're still also considered for Tall Maples in that pool of athletes as well. But yes, athletes can attend Tall Maples more than once, to answer that question. Lost my spot.
Oh, there's one here. Athlete need to indicate a specific position they want to play for, or is their overall skills used and they are placed in specific positions during camp? Like you have in GMTM, when you complete the athlete information form, you get to indicate your main position. Now this happens all the time. Someone lists their position as middle. We watch them, they end up being playing on the left side, for example. So yes, our coaches and evaluators look at the athlete's overall athleticism and skills, and it happens on a fairly regular basis that a couple of players in each program are kind of invited to try a different position. Now, the one thing that we, really try to do with team mentor programs is actually, um, we want to meet the needs of the athletes. And so if someone comes in and they say they absolutely want to play left side, but our coaches would like to see them play in the middle, we have a discussion with the athlete. And what we've done, just this past summer when this situation came up, is we just kind of negotiated with the player to say, hey, we understand that you want to play as a left side. We'll give you some repetitions to train that. But for the benefit of the camp and everything and the group, we need you to play some middle. And the athletes are, usually very understanding and can see the value of training in a different position in order to elevate their skills. And we come up with a way to meet everyone's needs, which is pretty neat.
At Ontario Championships, will the OVA be updating the stats on GMTM or does the athlete? That's a good question. So we actually don't have a spot in our application form on GMTM for the stats. We have our own kind of offline database where we house all of the physical testing information for the athletes that are part of the ID process. You can use that information and upload it to your specific profile if you want on GMTM, but we won't be adding them onto GMTM, but know that we do have a spot for them and we'll be looking at the physical testing results as well. I think there's a follow-up question in terms of the visibility of the videos on GMTM here. So I think there are 3 options for visibility. There's one that's fully public, one that allows the coaches to see the videos, and then there's a private option as well. And if the video is listed as private, I don't think anyone can actually see it other than the athletes themselves that posted it. I'll review that process, and then I'll post that on our website on our athlete ID selection page, just with some more information on the visibility for those who are curious about it.
Okay, so there's this question here about the reasoning for having in-person tryouts for beach and not indoor. So there's a lot less players trying out for beach. We're able to have a tryout with about 100 to 120 people. If we were to do this with indoor, it would be hundreds and hundreds of people. We don't have the facilities, the staff, the time. Like, it just doesn't work. We can't do a really good job if we have like 300 players, in one day in the gym to take a look at everybody. That doesn't work very well. It's not very good quality. So that's why we have this process that, goes over a few months, allows us to kind of really take the time to see everybody and evaluate them. Yeah, now that being said, I want to mention that the deadline of early March is so that all athletes who apply can be assessed and evaluated through the online submission. And then our coaches and evaluators will definitely be at Ontario Championships, going out and trying to figure out the last decisions, right? So oftentimes what happens is that through these online submissions, the top athletes are fairly easy to spot and to find out of the group. And what happens is that kind of middle group, like the kind of that group of athletes that will be kind of the last invites for the camp. This is where we usually use Ontario Championships to go and get a better look at the athletes and get to know them a little bit better and make those last decisions. But this online process helps reduce the amount of work that we have to do once we get to Ontario Championships.
Just some more questions about birth years and applying for different teams. So just to reiterate again, on GMTM, you are going to apply for the event where you see your specific birth year. And then we'll place, or the TMO coaches will place athletes on teams based on where their skill level is best suited. And if you do not see your birth year on a GMTM event, that means that you'll have to wait until next year to apply for a Team Ontario program. Does indoor and beach applications start at the same time? Yes. So on December 5th, the application process is open, and that includes both the indoor and beach portion of the application. Like I mentioned, you don't have to submit all of your activities all at once. So if you are missing beach volleyball videos, you can pay and register to be identified for the event, have access to the application, but you don't actually have to submit anything until you have it. So if you need to participate in a Winter Beach Tour event, you can apply, do all, and compete, and then submit footage from that afterwards, as long as it's in before March 12th.
Different positions have different requirements for the video that's listed in the event in GMTM. So when you look at the description and instructions for the video, all that information is there.
TMO coach selection for White and Up has closed. When will TORP coach applications be opened? Hopefully very soon. We're just waiting on finalizing the dates for the program in our facility. And then we'll be communicating that with the community and opening up that process for the regional programs, coaches.
Last question I see here is for beach, do you look at previous seasons, provincial and national rankings? No. We just look at the video submission and then the tryout at the end of May.
There's a question here about the VC Combine. Any questions about the VC Combine should probably be directed to Volleyball Canada. LP, are you aware if the stats were uploaded to Conduct for that program?
I'm not too sure about Volleyball Canada stuff. I'm trying to get a hold of someone there so that we can have conversations around the Combine. So we can find out more. If there's a specific question about that, please message us and we can follow up via email.
Are the skill requirements for the highlight video the same for every position? That's a really good question. It's not. We have specific requirements based on positions, and that's all listed again in the description and caption section of the event for the highlight video. We have specific instructions per position and what we want to see. So make sure you check that out before you create a video for your position.
I think we've covered pretty much all the questions that were in there. If there's something that we've missed, please message us. Email us. We'll be happy to answer those questions. The two things I wanted to finish by saying is that, if you're interested in an indoor program and you don't know the dates now, but you need to plan your vacation for next summer, plan your vacation for August and you should be good to go because we're going to be running our programs in July. And the last thing is, I know a bunch of people have left, but I just want everybody to know that once you sign up for the identification, we're going to ask for a phone number. And the reason is that this year we want to start using text message for important reminders. We're not going to be over, like flooding your phone with text, but just kind of around the important deadlines, just like kind of like reminders for the deadline for the submission of your application, and then a reminder at provincials about attending the physical testing. So maybe like 3 or 4 times at some point, throughout the process, so that we can reach you. In the past, email has failed us too many times. So we know what emails getting to junk mail and all that stuff. So we want to make sure that there's a way for us to reach you when, those couple of times when we have really time sensitive information to share. And those were my additional notes. Lots of questions. I love it. The last 3 years have been so weird for us. So it's really, really exciting to be back to our full programming. Let's get going. Let's have some fun all together, and let's run team up. So thank you so much, Lauren.
You too, LP.
No problem. You shared your email already. Emails are on our website. Email us with any questions.
Yep.
We'll have some social media posts and website posts and newsletter posts about all of these things when everything starts. So there'll be more reminders, but other than that, I think we're good to go. Have a good evening, everybody.